How is everybody doing? I hope everybody's having a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful time. Listen, we're gonna get into it, but first, do not forget that the book club, I believe that's the 24th. The 24th, that's the last Thursday of this month. We will be reading this book, and I keep this image up of Oprah because it just tickles me so that the person who built her brand and her life was on back respectability, and anybody can do it, and just put your mind to it and use magic and all this stuff is now holding a book called Cast. It's just the dumbest thing, but it makes me chuckle, so I kept this image. Anyway, we will be reading the book and we will be dissecting the book and having a conversation about the book last Thursday of this month. Doesn't look like it is much to get through, so those of you all who want to read the book and enjoy the book or whatever, or not enjoy the book and rant about the book once we get done, it's all in there. It's all, we can do whatever. So fam, please hit that like button for me if you are already in here. Hit that like button for me. Share this. Hit the bell. Make sure you hit the bell to get notifications. If you don't get notifications, make sure you just have the Twitter app, and I usually post it on Twitter when I'm going live. Make sure you have that. Make sure you go to patreon.com/ycarnell. If you want to donate, you don't have to do. You can hit the like button. That's totally free. Make sure you also subscribe if you have not subscribed to the channel. Now let's get into it. There has been a lot of kerfuffle, a dust up, if you will, because Joy Reid once again offended somebody. Now we know Joy Reid is one to offend people. She says all kind of stuff, and then when she gets caught up in the stuff she says, oh my gosh, I must have been hacked. I don't believe I said those awful things. But today I actually watched the show. That made my glasses worse. Jesus. Today I actually watched the show, right? And I was seeing whether or not she was going to apologize, because Joy Reid ain't never apologized to us about nothing. If you all don't know what happened, I'm going to get into that. So I just wanted to see if she was going to apologize for, like she said, when Muslims do X, Y, and Z and they radicalize people, they get blamed for it. But why don't Trump get blamed for it when he radicalized people? And people took offense. Muslims took offense to it because Muslims ain't out here just, radicalizing people. They said, wait a minute. You act like that's some kind of thing that happens in the norm in terms of Islam, and that's not what we do. You just said Muslims. Now, see, this could be just a case of Joy Reid being inarticulate, because she's not the most articulate person in the world, which makes you wonder why she's the only one left standing at MSNBC. But for those of you who don't know, let's get into it a little bit and just talk about what happened. And we're gonna give you the Council on American Islamic Relations meets with NBC to discuss its concerns over Joy Reid's "the way Muslims act" remark, because it was, calls for apology grow over Joy Reid's Islamophobic remarks, right? You had members of the squad coming out and saying, I thought we was all, you see little Ilhan Omar down there, she was talking. I thought we was all black the same. No, we gonna stick together. You didn't call her, you called her out. Now, I don't got no dog in this fight, so I don't care about either y'all. Y'all are both problematic to me, but I'm just saying, this goes to show all this stuff about flat blackness is for the birds. Ain't no flat blackness. She came for your throat, like she came for that other black woman's throat. Where they recorded her saying some stuff. Y'all know what I'm talking about. It's a lot of stuff going on. Oh, we really are breaking brown, aren't we? Brown is going to be broke up in a million pieces by the time we finish. Everybody's going to have to talk about lineage and contribution and all that stuff. We're not doing that no more. But they was all at you. Joy, they was all at you today. Rashida, Ilhan Omar, they was at you. Now, I'm not concerned about her either, because she was walking around in the slave caves holding hands with Nancy Pelosi. You're just holding hands, you see. And I don't even know why you was, somebody tell me where you from versus where the caves was and who came over here. And you were holding the hands of Nancy Pelosi and guiding her through the little slave caves. So listen, we don't have no dogs in this fight. Ain't nobody to root for. But Joy Reid has a history of this, and part of her history with this is us, but we're not going to get to that yet. Let's talk about what she said. Here's what she said. Let me bring this a little bit bigger for you. Here's what Joy Reid said in yet another foot in mouth episode. Leaders, let's say in the Muslim world, talk a lot of violent talk and encourage their supporters to be willing to commit violence, including on their own bodies, in order to win. In order to win against whoever they decide is the enemy. Well, that would offend me if I was Muslim. What the world? That offends me, and I ain't even that. And then you're gonna make people think that ADOS people are, because they don't know you from anybody else the way you tell it. I know. See, you're an American, but you gonna make people say, "Oh, black people are anti." No, we're not. We got a lot of black Muslims. You gonna create a stereotype about us because you just do dumb stuff all the time. Anyway, let me go on with what you said, because this is the first part of what I just read. But let me read the rest of it. To commit violence, blah 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 blah. We in the U.S. media describe that as they are radicalizing these people, particularly when they're radicalizing young people. See, you created like this conversation like all Muslims run around radicalizing people. You've thrown it. It sounds very like Islamophobic is the word I'm looking for. That's how we talk about the way Muslims act. Muslims, just in general, that's how we talk about how they act, Joy. What's wrong with you? You all right? You bump your head. When you see what Donald Trump is doing, is that any different from what we see as what we describe as radicalizing people? See, the problem is you described Muslims. You didn't take any specific person and say this person has radicalized or has been accused, and is that any different? You said what happened in the Muslim world. In the Muslim world, they do this. Is that any different than what Trump, when the Muslims do this? What? Who does that? But hey, you done offended everybody, so it's okay. It's okay. You know the rainbow came for you a long time ago, and you said, I genuinely, you didn't just say, you don't ever just come out and say I'm sorry because you're too arrogant. So I genuinely do not believe I wrote those hateful things. She made homophobic blog posts, and she talked about who was in the closet as a Republican, all kind of wild stuff that serious people shouldn't really even think about in terms of Chris Christie. He is a bunch of Republicans who are not gay. You were just doing all kind of wild stuff. Everybody makes mistakes, but you was wild. And so I genuinely do not believe I wrote those hateful things, but I can definitely understand based on the things I have tweeted and have written in the past why some don't believe me. And it turns out nobody believed you because you actually did write those things. You actually wrote those things and you could not apologize. I'm trying to figure out, though, with all this stuff that we know you did and we know you've been guilty of, why you're not gone, because it's not just about Joy Reid. Understand, family. Like sometimes you look at this and you say, oh, Yvette's focusing on Joy Reid. It's not about Joy Reid. Please hear me when I say this. Part of the problem, before I say that, let me just I just want you to see something, because we're talking about media, right? And when you talk about media, one of the things that you have to understand is that there are people in media who act as gatekeepers. We can't be fighting Joy Reid and dealing with everything we're dealing with, except that's what happened last year. She mounted this whole smear campaign against us, and we had to deal with her. She's part of the reason right now that we aren't even further than we are, because a lot of people who watch MSNBC, liberal-minded people, thought that we were bots, because that's the misinformation, because she's reckless and sloppy. Because some people say, well, it's intentional. I think it's intentional too, because I think she wants to see Kamala and just Democrats get elected in general. She hasn't thought her way into something that is politically imaginative, and I don't think she cares. I think I have a good life. I don't care what happens to your life. Well, see, this is our life, though. So you have to understand, when you think about Joy Reid and why this is so problematic, you have to understand what Black life looks like, right? So we have this whole thing with COVID. You know, I know I got some COVID deniers out there. We got pre-existing illnesses, And so what you have in New Orleans, hospitals sent patients infected with coronavirus into hospice facilities or back to their families to die at home, in some cases discontinuing treatment, even as relatives beg them to keep trying. This is our life. And we need to be able to make that right. But we can't do that, or it's going to be harder to do that if there are sloppy and stupid people in the way. We need them out of the way. Who gave you a right to stand here anyway? Who gave you a right to stand in between everybody and the black community, right? And I'm talking about majoritively ADOS community, but who gave you that right? So here's the second part of this article. He's talking about being sent home with COVID. We're going to take care of you. When he and his siblings received a call from the hospital only 23 hours after she was, I think that's his grandmother they're talking about. Well, we should say a family member, informing them there was nothing more doctors could do. 23 hours later, the doctors are saying there's nothing we can do. After she was admitted, informing them there was nothing more doctors could do, they were devastated. Their mother, here we go. Their mother was breathing on her own, but her kidneys were failing. They told us we couldn't see her, and that maybe contributed to our decision to bring her home, he said. They said hospice will be there to make sure she's comfortable. So they already undecided that she's dead. Like she's a last stage, and shout out to ProPublica for this, like cancer patient or something. They've already decided. Here's the thing though. The city's death statistics reveal an aberration. ProPublica found nationally, coronavirus patients aged 85 and older died at home only 4% of the time, according to data from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Local coroner records show that in New Orleans, it was 17%. Reporters attempted to contact families of everyone who died at home there. The interviews reveal a striking pattern. Before they died, about 24 patients first sought care at a hospital, which then discharged them, in many cases sending them home to die. All were black. All were black. The vast majority came from Ochsner Health, the largest hospital network in Louisiana, which treated 60% of the region's critically ill coronavirus patients. See, I say that, I put that out there, and I'm putting some other stuff out there just so we have the context of how serious this is. When somebody stands in the way of reparations and gets in the way of us, and as a black person whispers to everybody else, oh, these people, they bots, and they, you remember what she did? This is what Joy did right here. She told everybody that we were part of a disinformation campaign. So instead of us being able to do the work, instead of us being able, we ended up fighting Joy Reid. We ended up fighting this Dodo Bird, Malcolm Nance, who told people also, it's anytime anybody hashtags ADOS, you know that they're part of a disinformation campaign. Now this man, I still don't know what part of the CIA or whatever. He just said he was naval intelligence or some weird stuff. His biography is suspicious, but we ain't gonna get into that. I'm just saying this is what happened to us. You can't fight on all fronts, and that's why she's a problem. And that's why these Islamophobic comments, which is what they were, because you threw all Muslims in this radicalized, this is how Muslims think and feel bucket. That's what you did. You were either too doofish, or you were too lazy, or you are Islamophobic to not make a distinction and talk about an individual person or an individual radicalized person who did this. You just threw all Muslims together. If somebody threw all immigrants together, children of immigrants together, or even you be pissed off. You know you did this. You didn't even apologize really today, Joy Reid. But I don't have time for you. That's my thing. And I don't understand why MSNBC still has time for you. That's my thing. You are in my way. There are a lot of people who are just in the way. Just in the way. We've been fighting. trying to show you. There was an Intercept article talking about, no. We are not bots. We are not. We had spent whole last year talking about how we not bots. You know why? Because Joy Reid put together a smear campaign. We shouldn't have to be fighting Joy Reid. She shouldn't be on TV. She should be fired. How many groups? This woman done offended the Jewish community, the Muslim community, the gay community, the ADOS community. How many communities do you have to offend for somebody to say, you know what, this person isn't up to snuff? They're just not good enough for the job. They're not the bee's knees. Again, this is what we are. This is why I don't, sometimes I think, I know most of us do, but sometimes I think a lot of us don't understand the urgent need of the moment. As new data shows, early signs of economic recovery, black workers are being left out. Meanwhile, while we're trying to deal with what that means, while we're trying to deal with that through reparations and a transformative black agenda, we got to fight this bots accusation. Angela Reid, Joy Reid, all of that. Now, where did the real bots come from? There were people who were really working for the Russians. Turns out they were Ghanaians and West Africans and stuff. They weren't us. Nobody wanted to talk about who was really doing that. I didn't hear Joy Reid do a story about that. I didn't hear apology about that. After you done smeared us for all that time, we got nothing. You have gone too far with every group, and I don't understand. I don't understand how you're still there. It doesn't make any sense to me. None of it makes any sense, especially given the urgency of the moment. Especially given the urgency of black life right now and what needs to happen. See, we need a real agenda right now. And the truth of the matter is, if it hadn't been, like I said, if it hadn't been for Joy Reid, we might have got one. See, people say, oh my God, why are y'all voting? Why do y'all want to go Democratic down better? Y'all gonna let Trump get in there. Listen, I was trying to make the case to all Democrats about what we wanted. People got in front of that. One of the main people that got in front of that and said, don't listen to these people, was Joy Reid. If we had been able to speak directly to Democrats, both black, white, every race, creed, and color, or whatever, religion, if we had been able to directly speak to them in the frequency that we wanted to have the conversation and express our urgent need and why we were owed reparations, things could be different. Maybe we would be in a position where we had a different candidate. Maybe the candidate that we did have would have committed to a black agenda with reparations as the heartbeat. I will never know. Although we did great work, we were the ones who moved the needle, got it on the Democratic platform. The sponsors of HR 40, we did all of that. We could have done so much more if Joy Reid hadn't fumbled and dumbled her butt all in the way. Doofish, just clumsy, just standing for Kamala. And some of y'all who are ADOS are standing with her. You have to wonder, you blocked me, Tiffany Cross, but I don't know what you was talking about either. You said some old dumb stuff that I didn't understand either. Y'all got to stop co-signing this stupidness. You went through, listen, Tiffany, homegirl, listen, you went through this whole Twitter feed that I agree with. Well, you talked about how Anand, whatever his name was, said, oh, I've been on MSNBC and we all have insurance. And you came out and said, I don't have insurance and my family's poor. And you said all that stuff. Then you going to come back to Joy Reid's show and say, yeah, Joy, I don't understand what's wrong with people saying Kamala not black. We never said she wasn't black. Don't be doofish all the time. I don't understand that. And if a racist see me and a racist see somebody who's not, ADOS, whatever, that they see us the same, Joy, and we just got off on different boats. Well, I'm so happy. I was glad to see, Darity kind of handle that, because the same thing, people have been saying this dumb stuff. Eaton Thomas said this dumb stuff, and people retweeted and said it's not about a boat. You all are doofs. Like, no, the difference is what happened to them and their descendants in different places after landing on the boat. All slavery did not end at the same time, nor in the same way. This is like saying the only difference between all human beings is they were born to different parents. And you also have to include the same contribution, right? Our contribution is to America, which we built into an extremely rich country because you had free labor and all this stuff, and what we were worth more than the railroad. Just read David Black. That's what we were worth. So we were the wealth. Before steel or any of that stuff, we were the wealth. There is no America without ADOS. And that's why, you know, you have to understand. I put this tweet up about Joy Reid after the fact. You have to understand that what she is saying is that we don't exist. You have to understand that what Joy Reid is saying when she's talking, I think her name is Tiffany Cross. You have to understand that what she is saying is that we don't exist. Now y'all can have and I'm not opposed to knock yourself out. You can have what they call flag Twitter. You can have a Caribbean Day parade. You can have everybody got their flags, but when it comes to us, we don't exist. The people who built the country don't exist. That's what she's telling you when she says we're all the same. But everybody else gets to have their flag and do their thing. And let me just say, Tiffany, if that's the child's name, let me just say, you are crazy for being there, talking to her. It's not worth it. You don't get paid for being on Joy Reid's show, and your career ain't going to catapult from that. You've been on there doing all that stuff for a long time, and you still ain't got no health insurance. So what does that mean to you that you got to, yeah. And let's just say the other thing. There's another part to this, right? There's another part to this. Everybody has been saying this. Well, if a racist see me and a racist see you, the racists see the same person. Actually, not true. Actually, not true. We in the same boat. That's not true. And we figured that out. We figured that out a while ago. It's not true. But the other part about it is this. Let me just see if I can bring this up really quickly. There was this, they tried to make a Nigerian drummer into a freedom rider. They didn't have nothing to back it up. There were no quotes or nothing. They had him in a picture with Malcolm X and said that he was a freedom rider. But whatever, they knocked yourself out, because what's happening now, I feel, is that there's a group of people who are trying to create a narrative that makes them look like they made a real contribution. They were civil rights leaders, so that when Emmanuel Acho talks, it makes sense. See, right now when he talks, he sounds crazy. But if he had a lineage that tied him back to this through this Nigerian drummer man, it would make more sense for him. So there's somebody who's rewriting the story, and I think that's why there's no name on that story. If you look through the story, somebody pointed out there's no name on that story. There's no evidence on that story. There's nothing that we can link back to find out if that's true or not. But here was the most important part of the quote when people say they see us all the same. Here's a quote. Here's what the drummer was. He and a group of students boarded a racially segregated bus in Atlanta wearing traditional African clothes and were allowed to sit anywhere they wanted because they were not identified as African Americans who had to sit in the back. Wait a minute. Hold on. You telling me even back then you were not seen as me? You telling me that even back then white people didn't just see black people? They saw you and they knew that you weren't us, and that was enough. Let me tell you something, fam. That explains how you have so many people who are black but not ADOS who do very well in this country, because they're not seen as us. The whole joke has been like, oh, I can't catch a cab. Who cares? The question is, you can catch a PhD, right? You can catch a real good job. Who cares if you can't catch a cab? You catch everything else. Because white people have always been able to say, this is not like the rest of them Negroes. They've always been able to say, this Negro is different. This Negro is not like these people here. They know who you are. They know who we are. They see your name and know it. How many Negroes named Acho? with the last name. How many Negroes? They know Leroy Jenkins from that. One of the whole cons is the how everything is about melanin, the visibility of melanin. Yeah. You might get racialized in the street. But the Indian man, you remember the Indian man who got jacked up in the street and I think he got paralyzed? So you're just like an Indian. Like a racist cop might do anything. But think about it. This man gets to get on the bus as a black person with ADOS, and he gets to sit in the front. That's not black the same. That's not we just got out the same boat. That's you have an advantage because you're not viewed the same as ADOS. And white people know the difference. The whole con is that white people stupid. They ain't stupid. They know the difference. And they use the difference. What do you think ADOS felt like when they see you in your African garb in the front of the bus? And we in the back. What does that feel like? Do you think they said, well, we all the same? The differences have always been apparent. I don't even know what people are talking about. You know, last week we talked about Sharpton. And Sharpton was, you know, when we talk about Joy Reid and this nonsense that her and Tiffany Cross had. Oh, well, I tell you what, it's all the same. It's just different boats. That just goes to show the ignorance. And for an ADOS woman, Tiffany, for you to say that is profoundly stupid and is traitorous to your particular tribe to say something that dumb. It's just not true. It's absolutely not true. And, you know, one of the problems with Joy Reid is that, you know, we dealt 8 years. I talked about a little bit about Al Sharpton in the last show. So we dealt 8 years with Sharpton as the pit bull for the White House playing gatekeeper. So you couldn't really say too much. He came out, he ran out with his cape on. It's a lot of capes around here. He ran out with his cape on. You couldn't say much. Al Sharpton got his cape on. He has a TV show. Anything you say wrong, he gonna come out and he gonna be black and he gonna be the black bullhorn for Obama. Now understand, Al Sharpton wasn't speaking truth to power. He was protecting power from truth. You have to understand that he wasn't speaking truth to power. He was protecting power from truth, meaning us. We can't do that again. And Joy Reid is us doing that again. Having another pit bull for the White House. This time for Biden and Kamala. We can't do that no more. This is not something that we can continue to do. This is not something that we can continue to do. And the thing you have to understand is just because this Nigerian man or whatever was an activist doesn't put him on the level of king. We exalt people too much. You can be an activist. That doesn't say this, what did they say? The drummer man led the way or something. You don't, just because you are an activist doesn't mean that you lead the way. You were following. And you put us on to something else that was happening, a distinction that people won't even admit to now. It is interesting, drummer man. And when all the stuff was over, whether you wanted to or not, you were able to go back to Nigeria. We have nowhere to go back to. So if it don't work, it's got to work out here. Ain't no, well, if it don't, well, what we going to do? No, it's got to work out here. You were from a Yoruba tribe, and you could go back there and do anything you wanted to. We got to have it work out here. It's do or die for us. This is different. This is different. This is different. And we have to understand our difference. That's the problem I have with Pan-Africanism. It doesn't mean that you can't align with somebody because you share the same values. It just means there are no shared values in melanin or kinky hair. You align with somebody based on what they do and how they do it and what they show you. in their works. The truth is in the works. Not on based off you assume that person wants what's best for you because they have melanin and they have kinky hair. That's not the foundation. And we have to understand that. We have to understand that. Because if we don't understand, I don't know if nobody else will. Who else gonna get it if we can't get it? And don't forget that Joy Reid and that little washed up rapper, who shall not be named, got a lot of people feeling like they were froggy. And I think she ended up on Joy Reid's show after saying all that stuff about ADOS. All these people opened the floodgates to a bunch of disinformation. And so instead of saying, hey, we're going to spend this year just pushing for a black agenda, and, you know, a transformative black agenda with reparations, the heartbeat, we had to spend so much of that year fighting dodo birds. We had to fight rappers. We had to fight D-list celebrities, all of it. Joy Reid. And you have to wonder, as we talk about Joy Reid, one of the things you have to wonder, I always wonder about the positionality of people, right? So one of the things you kind of have to wonder about Joy Reid is, you know, let's just go back. You know, we know that they canceled your first show. We know you got moved to the weekends, you got canceled. You got more chances than any Negro I've ever seen. Now, we know that after Melissa Harris Perry walked and told MSNBC what she really thought, because I told y'all all the Negro whisperers was going to go away after Obama. They were only there for Obama to interpret what the Negro was saying. Interpret the Negro for the white people, please. That's why they were there. And I said they're going to go. And they went. But you have to wonder, because, you know, Melissa Harris Perry actually apologized as she was going out and said a few apologies. Martin Bashir, Torre, Finney, whoever that, Finney, whatever. I am sorry and ashamed of my earlier silence. I gave into a culture of fear. Now, you know, you have to wonder about that, family. You really have to wonder about it. Because she was the last one left standing. Joy Reid was the last one. Now, I wonder about this. Let me see if I can find it. But they gave Joy Reid Melissa Harris Perry's slide. I have to wonder about that. All these Negroes got pushed out but you. Joy Reid takes Melissa Harris Perry's time slot. So all the Negro whisperers got pushed out but you. Why? These people don't do anything for nothing. They don't do nothing for nothing. Right? So why did they keep you? What don't I know? Why did they keep you, Joy? And what are you fulfilling for them? Cause something's going on. Cause all the Negro brown people, they even got the Asian American woman. They got her out of there. They got everybody out of there except you. Why? What are you willing to do that everybody who left isn't willing to do? I heard they promised one of them a show and they still didn't get it. But you still there. No charisma, no nothing. Just like Al Sharpton couldn't read the teleprompter. When people like that are still there and they lack talent, what are you there for? The people who had talent, you kicked them to the curb. The black people who had talent is gone. I had my issues with Melissa Harris Perry, but she had some really good guests and stuff like that. Like, you don't do that. You just have the regular ones and they just say the same thing. They just say the same thing. It's a mouthpiece for Democrats. It's not a mouthpiece for us. It's not a mouthpiece for ADOS. It's not even a mouthpiece for Black America. It's a mouthpiece for Democrats. And I think that's what a lot of y'all are. I saw this. I just want to say it before we go. I saw in Cobra, got to sit down with no, I'm sorry, not in Cobra. NAARC, I'm sorry. I misspoke. They're the same to me. Got to sit down with Kamal Bell for 2 minutes. That's 2 minutes too long. And they were talking about they were talking about something very interesting. They were talking about he said he had a 10-point plan for reparations, right? It wasn't 10 points. Actually, it wasn't a plan. What you see with this group that's been kind of going around the country, and that's what you see with all these little reparations plans that are not reparations. That's a lot of the time people like this going around saying, I have a reparations plan. But what they have conceded, because he said something that was very interesting. Now, I hate when reparations viewed as just a check, because that makes you sound like a lottery winner or something. That's Republican language. It's not about a check. It's about inheritance. It's about a plunder. But he said we might get a check and we might not. That's what he said. You can go watch it yourself. It's on the Twitter. I don't think I retweeted it, but you can see it. He said we might get a check and we might not. Understand, when you say that, you have conceded to white supremacy and racist white institutions when you say that we might not get what we're due. Then he started talking about affordable housing. That's what he does. He started talking about affordable housing and criminal justice reform. Listen, we should get America. This is class. When you start talking about those things, you're talking about class. Now, I'm not saying those things shouldn't be done. Those are things that just should be done for Americans, just in general, to bring up the quality of life to some of these European countries we talk about. Boy, you talk about Sweden or all these Norway. That's just it's not reparations. You have already conceded that. So when you see a group say something like that, what you have to understand is that group has already sold out. If they're not going to give us the inheritance that we're due, you've already sold us out. And that's why so many states are agreeing to work with you, because they know you've already sold us out. You're not going to give us what we need to weather COVID or to build businesses. He said we're going to get some land and we're going to build a Wakanda village. You can't take seriously. Listen, it's too late. That boat has sailed. We already live where we live. We live mostly segregated in black communities. This is not a Wakanda village, sir. We're not going to move to a Wakanda village. We just want the inheritance that we're due so that we can use that. And there are laws to protect us as a group of ADOS and to ensure that we get integrated into the economy in the way that we should be integrated into the economy and the banks and plugged into the wealth of this nation. Yes, we need laws for that. What we don't need is your Wakanda village. This is fantastical foolishness. And that's why I don't take them seriously. And I also don't take you seriously because the energy that I don't like thieves. The energy that you're moving on isn't any energy that you've created. I've never seen your face. This is not energy that you've created. You're taking somebody else's energy, the energy created by ADOS, and you're moving it towards this kind of class-based solution. Because you've already told white America, we're okay with not getting a check. That's what you did. We're okay with not getting wealth. We're okay with not getting generational transfers. We're okay with the plunder. That's what you just announced to white America. So, of course, they're going to prefer you over us. That's why you don't need to be here. You can get affordable housing in the ghetto. That's not reparations. That's great to have affordable housing. And I'm in favor of affordable housing. I don't want you to think I'm not. It's just not reparations, and it shouldn't be called reparations. It's just, as I end, fam, I just want to say, it's too many people that just consistently get in the way. And I don't know how because we have to continue to make progress. Right? We have to continue to make progress. We can't just rest on what we already did. I don't know how far that goes if these people keep to just be able to run wild like this, from Joy Reid to him, and just show up with a hat on and say you got a 10-point plan and give 2 points. It ain't even really a plan for reparations. It's a plan for affordable housing and criminal justice reform. I don't know what you do if the group is not strong enough and big enough to say you got to stop talking. You got to be quiet because the group agrees that what you're talking about is not reparations. What you're talking about is a better America for the most part, except for the land part, and Wakanda don't make sense. You just gave white people a bunch of jokes. They just giggled and laughed at the whole segment. And I don't want to be giggled and laughed at. The same way Nicole Hannah-Jones made everybody giggle and laugh when she said Gucci, you can go get Gucci with your reparations. Y'all got to stop being jokes for white people for the first part. This is just stupid, and it makes you look silly. It makes you look like a child with a lollipop. You have to be serious, and this is deadly serious. And these people have to get out of the way. And I don't know, the group, but see, you can't have me or anybody else as an individual do that. The group has to say, you don't do that. We haven't been good at getting people out of the way. And one of the things that we have to do, of course, we do it. Anybody talking about nothing physical, nothing stupid. But of course, we have to just let everybody know. And we have to let that this person doesn't speak for us. We already have a plan. We've already decided what reparations is in terms of generational wealth and wealth transfers. We've already done that. We don't need him to give us Wakanda Village. And that's what that's what we all have to be consistent about. And we have to get to that space really quick. And that's just that's my thought on that. Now I'm going to get to the calls, fam, so that you all can call in and tell me what you really think and what you really feel. We're going to get to the calls. Give me a few minutes as usual. Set up the phones. I'll be back and we will have the conversation. fam, we are back, and I am going straight into the phones. I am going first to 956. 956, what is your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, this is Candace.
Hey.
Hello, and I'm calling from California. I'm sorry.
That's fine. How you doing?
I was shocked that you chimed in so quick. I was making a smoothie.
La babe.
But I've been following you for quite some time, Yvette. I am a prior political candidate out here in California.
Okay.
And I wanted to comment on a lot of things that you have been saying. I want everybody to listen to Yvette, because she is 100% dead on everything that she's speaking about. I have experienced this myself. I'm originally from the Midwest, but I moved out here to California about 5 years ago.
Okay.
Anyhow, so when I first came to California and I saw Skid Row and all our people outside, homeless, dying, and I seen all these foreigners and even non-ADOS living the life of luxury. And basically, they have pushed our people out into the street. And I'm talking about Watts, Compton, Inglewood, these foreigners and non-ADOS, they come, they pay, they have taken over all the jobs, all the housing, everything from the blacks, which are the ADOS. And so I saw Joy Reid at an event here. And I approached her, Joy Reid, and I as well communicated with Kamala Harris in regards to why are these black people outside like this? Because our ancestors would not have allowed this to happen. Then my next question was, where is all the blacks, the ADOSs? Where are y'all at? These are y'all people out here on the street. And y'all have just basically kicked them to the curb. So I have no respect for anybody in Hollywood, anybody of any status that is black that lives in California, because they had the money and the power to get your people off the street. And when I was out there campaigning, I was meeting individuals in Maxine Waters District, our people, ladies, I'm a little older, lady my age, 40, 50 years old, coming out of the McDonald's bathroom because that's the only place she could wash. I also encountered another lady that was living in her car, and these are 40 and 50-year-old black women. And for people to sit up here that are ADOSs, and you guys condone Kamala Harris and Joy Reid, who are not ADOSs, and they don't care about the ADOSs in this country. We are getting our lineages basically mixed in with non-ADOSs that these whites are putting up on pedestals to basically bring down the ADOS lineage, and they put these non-ADOSs like Rihanna, like the Cardi B, like the Candace Owens, the Joy Reid, Kamala Harris. They are not ADOSs of this country. They migrated here.
And let me say this. Let me say this, fam. Understand something.
Go ahead.
Understand something. They're never going. Also understand this. They're never going to put an ally up there either. That's not going to happen. So you're never going to see, like, you will see an ally in the street, but you're never going to see we're not seeing allies on these channels and stuff. That's not what's happening, because all these people, even when you think about our own boule, all of these people are selected. It's almost like they get in a room and they have to agree to be gatekeeper. And so now it's almost as if like you have this buffer group, right, that's being put here, and you don't feel the same way because of what you come from versus what we come from. but you're willing to cloak. I keep talking about Emmanuel Acho because it's so profound to me that he was talking about Emmett Till, and like his daddy was a Nigerian doctor. I'm assuming his mother was Nigerian, or she was a stay-at-home wife. I don't know what her career was, but it's like you just cloak yourself in this history. It's like me going to Nigeria and talking about y'all don't know what happened during colonialism. Let me do a video about it. It's just like I don't either. Like I don't have. If you don't have any family, like how does Emmanuel Acho say that he doesn't have any family and teach a lesson to white folk? You have more in common with them than us in terms of how your life went. You went to a top white private school, top tier school. You grew up with white people and loved and you them was your best friends. So how do you come in and say, I'm gonna tell white people about yourselves? No, like you didn't have the Klan didn't run through your neighborhood. You don't have any relative who told stories about that. ADOS does. You don't have any sharecropper relatives who are living in that day. We do. So like it's almost if like it's almost if you cloak yourself in that identity too. I'll let you finish, Carl. I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah, and I totally agree. And that's why I think there needs to be an adjustment in that name, African American. Because just because you migrate here and you birth a child, that does not mean that you are an ADOS. You nor your child. Because that is specific to the African American lineage in this country. Period. So anybody that migrates here, it needs to be a different category. And basically what they are doing, they're coming here just like Kamala Harris. Oh, I'm an African American. No, you're not. Your mother is from India and your father is from Jamaica. They met when they came to college here in the United States. And then they birthed you, and then she hightailed it back to Canada with Kamala. So you are not an ADOS. So we need to reorganize that African American term, and as well, we need to have a political organization specific to ADOS lineage to start running for these political positions and show them, no, Kamala Harris is not an ADOS. This is an ADOS that is running for this political position. So there's things that, I believe that we need to start doing to bring more power to our lineage, because they are trying to replace us with these other minorities. I was just reading the other day where Harvard University considered that Asians were minority, and they fulfilled their minority cap by allowing Asians to attend the school. I said, first of all, that minority term is being hijacked as well. That was only for African Americans. That was not for Asians. That was not for any migrants that migrated to this country.
But consider this.
So these people,
consider this, fam. Consider the number, though.
Right.
Remember what we brought up about South Asian a few weeks ago? They earn more than the white people. Like when you look at the color of wealth in California. So if you all earn more than white people, how do you fulfill? Because the whole point of a minority category is the idea that you are ADOS and you need help. Like you need help that you've been discriminated against. You can't say you discriminate against and you making more money than white people.
Right. Exactly. And then they come straight over here and they're able to open up businesses. But we've been over here 400 years, but we can't even open up businesses, because I am as well as a federally registered contractor, freelancer, and we can't even get business loans. We can't get mortgage loans. We can't get car loans. We can't get those top positions, but as soon as they migrate over here, they're considered a minority, and they can get those things that we can't get. But we have been in this country for 400 years. And the reason why I'm so adamant about all of this is because my father, bless his heart, he's 75 years old, and he's a Vietnam veteran. And he told me about the segregation that occurred in the Vietnam War. A lot of people don't know about. And he's still living. And that still affects his heart. They still were marching in Selma, Alabama to this day. But these people that are non-ADOSs that they're putting have are not speaking on our behalf.
Mm-hmm.
They are just basically hijacking our history, our culture, and our laws. Because last I checked, civil rights movement, there was no Mexicans, there was no LGBT, there was no Asians in that civil rights movement. Those were black Americans in that civil rights movement. But now all of a sudden, oh, we can use that civil rights movement. Even though y'all didn't march one day, your ancestors didn't die, your ancestors didn't get jailed. But you guys can come over here and say, oh, we can use that civil rights movement. No. And as well as the voting rights. How many minorities and migrants were here when blacks was marching and fighting for voting rights? None of them. And that goes as well as the affirmative action.
Well, here's the issue too. Even the ones who were here, we're talking to right at the decimal point, which is a small amount. But like even the ones who were here, like you saw with Kamala's dad, right? He was getting a PhD at Stanford. Like he wasn't involved with the civil rights and nothing like that. He was getting a PhD he's at Stanford now. He was getting a PhD. What was he at? I can't remember what college he was at. He might have been. What was he at? Berkeley or something? But he was getting his PhD.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, they met in Berkeley.
Yeah. So you weren't like you weren't the same as us. Like so you have to think about it. While Kamala's father was getting a PhD in some very complicated economics, something that had to do with inflation or something, I think. We were getting water hosed. How do you consider those two groups the same?
Right. Exactly. Her mother went to Berkeley as well. You know, but Berkeley, let me tell you, Berkeley is tied because I was up in Berkeley when they was up there riding and all that, and I talked to a couple of people. Berkeley is tied to the Democratic Party. Obama and Michelle frequented Berkeley. So it is tied to the Democratic Party, is what I found out.
All right, fam.
So anybody coming from Berkeley is tied to the Democratic Party. And like I said, here in California, let me tell you, I am so upset to see my people outside the way they living, and not one black is stepping up to the plate. I mean, I did videos. I was, out there shouting from the mountaintops up to D.C. all the way down. Them is our people. We got people out there in wheelchairs with no arms, no legs, in wheelchairs.
Yeah,
okay?
absolutely.
Living in roaches.
I agree, fam. And the thing is,
them is our people.
I know, fam. I'm as passionate about it as you are. But the thing is, none of that changes until we change as a group, right? I say it all the time, you get the leadership you deserve. And we as a group have, these people get in the room and they will say, well, ain't nobody studying about these people. They need to do better. They need to do whatever. They don't care. For the most part, I'm not talking about everybody, because we got to talk about our leadership too. This isn't just about the immigrants. This is about we got some awful leaders, and we make them do stuff. When we move as a powerful group, then they have to move. And we haven't moved enough. We haven't been politically engaged enough and knowledgeable enough. We think that going out and voting for a Democrat every 2 or 4 years or whatever is enough, and it's not. And I'll let you have the last word, and then I got to move on.
Okay, well, let me say one more quick thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because when I was out there running for office, let me tell you, these white people think black people is uneducated and we dumb, and we don't know nothing. And that's why they go to these foreigners, and then they want to try to control you. They couldn't control me, so that's why I didn't make it, because I can't be controlled, because I'm going to speak the truth, whether people like it or not. The truth is the truth. And when I see stuff, my people being mistreated, I'm going to speak up. I don't care who I'm running for. I don't care what political party. But I can tell you, Democrats, we have been voting Democrats all our life. Where has it gotten us? Then we have on the other side of these Republicans, all white.
Got you, fam.
To foreign black.
All right, fam. Got you. I got to move to another call, but I appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to 310 now. 310. What's going on?
What up, man? I just want to get in here and get out. This is true because I'm listening to her and I hear her anger and I feel for her anger. and their frustration. I hope that ADOS gives
Who
her
is this?
some
Who is
semblance of
this?
a space.
Who is this?
Huh?
Who is this?
This is Antonio. This Tone Talk. This Tone Talk. I feel for her anger and her frustration in the sense that, before ADOS, people didn't have a place to put it.
Yeah.
But I think inside of us creating ADOS, people are... the gravity of the moment and the problem is kind of lost on people in some senses, because I'm looking at first let's just talk about one of the things I was telling you about before. We need to break this thing up. Joy Reid comes from two people. One is Congolese. They got 10,000 people here. And the other is Guyanese. They have 200,000 people here. This whole idea of black immigrant is just too general, just like Africa. We've done the Africa thing. Now let's start talking. People need to ask not just who are you and how many of you are here, and why would you be the relevant person to have a discussion, and why are you important in the dialogue? You, not nobody else, not Shirley Chisholm, not Mark Harvey, we got to understand that there's a difference between coming from Barbados and coming from Jamaica, English colonies, and coming from Trinidad, and why, and coming from Haiti, and why, and how that attaches to our narrative. We've just been playing for almost 50 to 60 years, playing. So when I say that, I mean, if Joy Reid only has 200,000 people here, and they just came voluntarily in the last 30 years, how is she on TV? Why is she on TV? So in addition, I keep going, and I think Tiffany Cross now is speaking with Joy Reid about ADOS, but nobody wants to point out you can't speak about ADOS once you need Joy Reid to keep you on TV, because she's covering for Joy Reid on Saturdays. Not only is that a conflict of interest, not only is that bad journalism, I don't know how ethical that is. You're not supposed to be on TV talking to Joy Reid if you need to cover her show, and she needs to. You are Black Girl Magic Jam for Joy Reid. I need everybody to start unpacking this so that they can make these arguments to ask her, like, why? Either you're going to host the show or you're going to speak on ADOS. You can choose, but you can't have both. But once you host the show, Joy Reid, don't talk about us no more, unless you want to bring Yvette Carnell on to talk about ADOS in a debate with Joy Reid. But you're not going to do that because you want to host the show. So we start seeing that in these media spaces, they are built out of covering up the reality of ADOS. Is that why NAARC can get in certain rooms? So people keep saying, well, NAARC can get in rooms. What does it matter if they ain't saying nothing? If the requirement to be in the room is to not talk about reparations, they're not in the room.
Yep.
And I'm seeing this, and I want to talk about two last things. I think there's a reckoning happening. I try to bring it down to bite-sized pieces, and I shout out so many of y'all. Just in the last week, I've heard 3 to 4 black women tell me their mother is watching. I hear black people all across, men and women. I'm getting my family to watch. Because right now, what has happened is there's a comfortable boomer class in America. Black boomer class. We just got to say it. I'm not talking about right, wrong, or the other. I'm just saying the reality is our wealth, as little as it is concentrated in the hands of a small hand of boomers. And it's not based on, like it's not based on a difference in that they went to college and we didn't a generation later. It's just timing. So what is the obligation if you don't have all the wealth? Those are private conversations that need to be happen internally in these families, because those are the people who cannot be so comfortable that their home is only for them instead of being a body or an access point for politics for the greater community and for the following generation. You know, I'm going to be doing the show on Akon and Wakanda tomorrow. Tune in at 4:30. Please support Yvette Carnell, Breaking Brown, and support ADOS. We just trying to start the conversation, and everybody seems like they don't understand that this conversation is not just about reparations, while it's a key component. It is about identity. But once that happens, I don't know if Joy Reid is still on TV. I'm just telling you.
Yeah. Thank you, Tom. As always, appreciate it. And she's not on TV no more if we do this, because Joy Reid isn't on TV. They gotta have they want a black person there. And so, like, the minute they understand that, like, you don't really represent the black movement of this generation, which includes black people in terms of the black agenda, but like reparations as the heartbeat and what that means. And not only do you not understand or represent it, you tried to smear it. Once that becomes commonplace, there's no space for you on there anyway. And you never represented us. And Joy Reid will say, well, I am absolutely American. You absolutely are. But you're not an American who has ever been an ally to ADOS. And like the group that you come from doesn't come from that lineage to speak to that lineage. So you're on TV to speak to that lineage because you know, you talk sister girl talk, and you're on TV to speak to that lineage, but you can't. And you did yourself a disservice, because not only can you not speak to that lineage, you did yourself a great disservice when you tried to handicap us. Like, because we're still rising and you're still tripping over your feet. You're still putting your foot in your mouth. Somebody's going to have a problem, and I think it's you. Anyway, I'm going to my next call. I am going to 702. 702, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Oh my God, that's me. Hey, y'all. Hey, Yvette.
Hey.
My name is Kelly. I am Kelly Kills. Oh, let me get back away from my phone. I'm Kelly Kills on YouTube and Kelly Fierce at Twitter.
Okay.
I had some points, and I wrote them down. Give me one second. Alright, okay, so the first point I wanted to make was about Joy Reid. I thought what she said was tacky about the Muslim community. She sounded more like a right-winger to me. You know, it was kind of like, oh, in their country, they radicalize people. So, I mean, I get that people going to be all up in arms about it, but, I mean, it sounds like a right-wing talking point to me. My other point was, about the lady the ADOS lady speaking with her. And, I mean, the only thing I can say about that is conditioning, trying to get ahead. I mean, people do so much just to be better off, and it ain't really, it's very few of us I've noticed that's for the group versus individualism that, that's what America is, right? Versus, other societies. It's all about you and screw everybody else.
Yeah.
And let's see. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Hold on. Oh, and the homeless. I wanted to speak to what the caller said about the homeless population. I work in mental health, and I actually do work with a lot of homeless people. It is a lot of homeless people, and yes, it is ADOS, in higher numbers than everybody else. Just like every other jacked up thing that, still that you can kind of rate us on, right? So we still falling under that, but I think a lot of people don't realize that a lot of homeless people do have some serious, comorbidities with like drug and mental health and, drug use and mental health that really does create a situation of perpetual homelessness, even when they find, housing for themselves. Some people, and I've seen it a lot. So,
well, I think,
because obviously we're all trying to make it every day.
Hold on one second. What I would say to that too is, yes, a lot of homeless people have other issues, right? Let's talk about drug use or addiction of any kind, right? Part of what creates addiction, if you start to study addiction, is like a lot of times you have abuse, and a lot of times that abuse is in childhood. So I think when we talk about, well, people are on drugs or people or whatever, I think you have to try to figure out or think about what happened to this person that makes them not want to be a part of their own life all day, to like want to zone out from their own lived experience all day. That's usually trauma. And I think part of the trauma that we live with comes with the life that we have to live, right? Regardless of what that is, regardless of your mama had to be a prostitute, and the men who came in the house, did
Yeah.
something to you. It's a lot of stuff that goes on with a lot of people who have a lifelong addiction. I'm not talking about nothing recreational, but I'm talking about what you're talking about. Well, I would rather be homeless and be an
Oh
addict.
yeah, no, I would agree with you wholeheartedly. The only thing I would add to that is that I've seen it run the gamut. I mean, suburbanite, black folk, white, whatever. But I mean, just to keep it specifically to us, ADOS. No, I've seen it run the gamut to people who have really, I don't know, I guess quote unquote normal lives or middle class lives, and
Yeah.
I mean. A lot of times, mental health be first.
True.
Problems with mental health.
Yeah, true. Some people self-medicate,
and then they do the
Some people
self-medication, which creates the an extra problem. But I mean, it's homeless here in Vegas is terrible. I mean, it is a baby. LA, like it looks like that. It looks like a baby. It's a baby Skid Row. Here, it really is.
Yeah. I appreciate it, caller. Thank you for calling in. And
thanks for taking my call. Take care, everyone. Take care, Yvette. Thank you so much.
No problem. I appreciate you. But yeah, I think you have to that's one of the things people say, and I think even with these mental illnesses, a lot of times you have to look at it's one thing a lot of stuff. There are a lot of people who aren't necessarily. Some people are born with a mental illness, and they've had it since they were a child. And sometimes there's a fracture there, right? And so people self-medicate. So there's a lot going on. What I would like to see is if this community is made whole. I mean, you put people we're in a stable environments. We have the wealth. How do these numbers change, right? Because we talked about before the study where the Vietnam veterans came back and the ones who were addicted to heroin, right? And the ones who came back to a good life were kind of able to kick the habit. And the ones who came back didn't have jobs and didn't have support. They remained addicts. So I would just like to see, in terms of the addiction part of it, and even to some extent the mental health, like how many people remain that way. Like the mental health industry also came about during industrialization, where people were forced to kind of spend 8 hours and audit. Now imagine that just regular people. Add on the additional stressor of being ADOS and see doesn't something crack up. And so I just, and I don't mean that in a demeaning way when I say crack up. I mean that like a fracture, like this is too much. This is too heavy a burden to bear. That's how I mean it. I would like to see if we were made whole with how that changes. And that's part of what reparations is. Like, let's see how that the addiction rate and all that changes. Let's take a look. Anyway, I'm going to my next call. I am going to 215. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, this is Mike from Philly. How you doing tonight?
Pretty good, Mike. How about you?
I'm good. I'm watching you, so my night's going well.
Oh.
I appreciate you. I appreciate the work that you and Tom been doing. And it's been a big inspiration and also a learning experience. So I just wanted to say thank you before I jump into my point real quick.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
So I myself, like Joy Reid, am an employee of NBC Universal.
Okay.
And something's been on my mind for a while here while I've watched in the wake of the George Floyd death. A lot of these companies, big companies, Fortune 500 companies, have been pledging a lot of dollars to social justice change and racial equality causes and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. And working for NBC Universal, which is a subsidiary of Comcast, who's pledged $100 million to these sorts of causes, it's been on my mind wondering, should we be trying to get ADOS sort of in the door through the black employee organizations here so that we can kind of maybe get that money directed to something of consequence, like some sort of lobbying action or money behind candidates that are going to support something like amendments to H.R. 40, rather than a lot of what I've been hearing, which is essentially, we're going to donate to this charitable cause, that charitable cause, and it feels kind of like a pat on the head, go buy some new basketball uniforms, and we did our part. I just want to see some of that money that's been pledged by Nike, Comcast, and others move towards an arena where there can be actual policy changes and material effect.
Well, no, I agree, and that's part of why we've had the conversation about an organization, but it would have to be. I don't think it could be a nonprofit. Like that's kind of like, I think we need something, but the problem, we could have a nonprofit. Like there could be a nonprofit that just couldn't be this thing that we're doing, because we're specific in terms of we're extremely political. So that could be an education piece. But the thing that we're doing, it would have to be another entity, and we've been talking and thinking about that, because it would have to be another entity, because we are extremely political and unapologetically so. So I think so, but I think what happens is there would have to be an increased normalization of ADOS, right? In the sense of, and I think we're headed that way. We've been in different publications, and I think we're headed in the direction, Joy kind of got in the way, and other people, of like normalizing the conversation that we're having, right? And normalizing why this is necessary. But I think that's something that is in the future. I hate that so many people got in the way and tried to call us bots, and so we had to go back and kind of rework and say, no, this is who we are, this is what we stand for. Now, after we say that, the question becomes whether these companies that we're talking about really want to see some type of transformation in terms of ADOS life, or whether they really just want to give money to say they gave money. Because if you give money to us, you're giving money to a group that is really about transformation, which means that affects you, because maybe your taxes go up to pay for reparations. So I think we'll really see whether these companies are just trying to give money, because if you give money to the Black Lives Matter Global, it's not going to do anything. So you can feel good about yourself, and you know that nothing in your life is going to change. You can feel good about yourself, nothing's going to change. We'll see whether or not these people are willing to give money and are willing to sacrifice, because you're going to have to sacrifice. You're going to have to give up whiteness, really. That's just what it is, in terms of who you are individually, not just your company. So I think that would be a testament to whether they're willing to give it up. And I don't think they're willing to give it up yet. That's just where I am. I think so that's why I think the people that they will give to would be people who are going to give language to Black Lives Matter and we got to defund the police or whatever, but who aren't really invested in the kind of transformational politics that we're invested in. But I understand exactly what you're saying, though.
And that's exactly the piece that's stuck in my craw with this. But I do appreciate your time, Yvette, and thank you so much for what you're doing.
No problem. Thank you for calling in, because it's a good conversation to have. And it's a conversation, fam, that conversation about how we organize and how we organize around institutionally is going to be a conversation that's going to continue to happen. So we're going to have to figure it out. But I think whether they're ready to do something real, like when white America gets ready to do something real, like, because really and truthfully, y'all the ones standing in the way. You don't want to really give up whiteness. You want to say, oh, that's so awful. I don't believe that way. But you're not ready to give up the thing you need to give up to really make us whole. That's a real big problem. That's a really big problem. I am going now to 773. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yeah. Hello.
Hey.
Hey, Yvette.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm just enjoying all the people that were, just got through talking. It's been great tonight. I gave you an email, and it was about a story in Chicago with Pedro Soto.
Okay.
And the scam that they did some fraud, and the Department of Justice picked it up, and the FBI investigated.
Who is it? Pedro Soto. Who is that?
Pedro Soto. He was working for the Chicago Public Schools.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And what happened was, supposedly he was letting the businesses know about the bid for the contracts.
Oh.
And so, yeah, it was real big. I sent you a lot of stuff about maybe 2 or 3 days ago.
Okay.
And what happened was, when the FBI came in and investigated the situation, they found out that he had lied to them about letting these businesses know about the bid. But the strangest thing, the reason why I look further into the story is because when it came up on ABC Chicago and NBC, and when they showed the businesses, they blocked the images of the illegal workers and stuff. They didn't want to show that there was a Mexican group that in these Mexican businesses they did the bidding for. And supposedly I read that he did at least $1 billion.
Okay.
Yeah, $1 billion that he helped, these people contract to. And it's just crazy how I forget the CPS lady's name here, but she's the one who let them in, and then she comes saying, well, I'm shocked that this has happened. And I said, we get them in office, and then they let other people run over them like they don't know what's going on to help all these businesses. And most likely, the businesses they ain't going to turn back the money. They did the work.
Yeah.
Contracts already set.
Yeah.
So now it puts us at a big disadvantage, because with the money already been spent, the contracts, and he already let them know, the only thing that they will probably do to him is charge him and everything else. But those contracts that could have helped all the minority businesses, especially black, they would. Even when you go downtown in Chicago, you see mainly the Hispanics and the illegals. You see them in the Chicago park districts. You see them everywhere here in Chicago. Anyone from Chicago will tell you, when you see landscaping workers or you never see an all black landscaping business. You never see, getting a big contract.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. It says top Chicago public school official charged with lying to feds during investigation of $1 billion. $1 billion. You right, fam. $1 billion with a B. Custodial contract. Good gosh, Moses.
Yeah.
That's a. Ooh.
Yeah, I sent you. I blew that email up because I was hot, because nobody here talking about this, and I'm just sitting up there looking like this is the stuff Yvette talk about every night.
He done sent all his stuff to the people. Ooh wee. Ain't that something?
And
Go ahead, fam.
Yeah, it's crazy, and they keep trying to keep it hush. They shared it for about 2 days, but I said this is a big story, because this shows you exactly what you preach about all the time, about how they selling us out, how they get in the door and they help their own push us out financially. Yep. And when I saw the story, that's the only thing I could think about. We have a place over here, like a 99th and Halsted, all black contracting place. They don't get those big contracts.
But they'll talk to you.
I called.
They'll talk to you all the time.
Yeah.
They'll talk to you all the time. We in it together.
Yeah.
We in it together.
Yeah. And when I saw that, I said, wow. And you mean to tell me nobody never caught this until the $1 billion is just gone? It really pissed me off. That really pissed me off. And another story, I know you talk about the banks and how the banks bailouts and stuff from back in 2016.
Uh-huh.
And we had only 2 black banks here in Chicago. We had ISF and we had Seaway Bank. Martin Luther King was, he had a lot of civil rights activists. Even Martin Luther King had they was, customers, and, they business with Seaway Bank.
Uh-huh.
Well, what happened was when after the 2014 and everything was going on with the banks, ISF was like the last one. And so they had 2 brothers called the Enduum family. And they had a father named Papa Enduum. And he came over here in the 70s as an economist, and 80s, and built up a repertoire among Deloitte and 2J, some place like that.
Repertoire.
Some big investment firm. And what happened was is he ended up, his kids, they bought out the last black bank in Chicago. And they changed the name from ISF, which is in Brownsville, to GN Bank. And GN is short for what? Ghanaian. And, it's a cold world, Yvette. Let me break this down.
My bro say it's a cold world. He said it's a cold world.
It's a cold world.
I'm finna bring this up. This is what you're talking about. I'm just bringing this up really quick. This is what he's talking about. This is what he was talking about first. I'm just bringing up what you were talking about first in terms of the public schools, this whole scandal that you were talking about. That's what I was doing. I was moving back and forth.
Okay.
Fam. So go ahead, fam. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's him. That's him. That's him. That's him.
Oh, wait.
And yeah. And let me put something else out there with like I said with the Ghanaian bank, the Ghanaians. Okay. They did an investment before the 2000, I think around 2013 or 12 or something. They did investments with ISF. I think they did $5 million where they had investments. But see, when you're an economist, and I look at stocks and I know all about the markets and the trends and up and down, and a lot of times you can tell by the hyperinflation of money when the banks and stuff is close to crashing. And with the housing market bubble, and with their father being economists and knowing all this business back from the 80s and stuff, there was no doubt in my mind they invested that $5 million because they knew that their bank was going under. That way, when 2016 came around and the banks really went down, and they already knew that no one was coming to save an ADOS bank. Not America, no one. And so, right when the bank went down, they only needed $9 million in order to keep from closing. Okay. And when them Ghanaians came up with the $9 million extra dollars that they had, they had to get it because their father owned banks in Ghana.
Okay.
So it's easy for them to access their wealth and turn and flip and buy what we had. And I gave the articles to you in your newsletter where he specifically states in one of the newsletters on Crane's Business or something like that, where I'm trying to look for more Jamaicans and African investors to come invest in a bank. But then you say in that same article that this is a black bank? And that this came from the veterans. They came up from down south who built this in Brownsville when they came up here. But now you're saying you're looking for Jamaican and Caribbean and African investors. It seems like to me you playing this trick politics.
Well, yeah, because we never did the work to break it up. You playing like a little slick takeover. It sounds like to me, but we never. And so you can get you can get everything that comes with. Well, we're a black bank, and you can go cry and say we're a black bank and we've been discriminated against. You can do all that stuff. You can do all the stuff that's owed to ADOS because of what we went through and everything that's happened to black banks in this country. Every time they try to build a black bank, you can access that, but not as an ADOS person. So it's a con how you come in and how you use your come in. The problem is we haven't done enough work as ADOS to break brown and black up. Everybody needs to live on lineage in the sense of what is your lineage?
Correct.
That's who it is because that's what everybody else do anyway. Let's be honest. Like either you consider yourself American or you have flag Twitter, like they call it, where you just have a different flag and you consider yourself and whatever, and that's just what it is. Everybody does that. And now after a few generations, people tend to consider themselves American. But even then, the white people say my people are Irish or something. Like people know. So everybody does that except us to a large extent, or to people who have totally, after several generations, totally integrated. But everybody, you're still not ADOS then either though. But everybody understands that and they talk about themselves and their heritage. It's only us that we don't want to break it up because we thought we was lost or something. But now it's time to break it up. It's time to break that whole thing up.
Yeah. And I'm going to add to this. There's a guy that was the treasurer voted in 2014, and he got it. Rahm Emanuel appointed him that position here in Chicago.
Okay.
His name is Kurt Summers.
Okay.
He just bashed him, and he put up there slavery, Jim Crow. This was recently. He put something up there, and all this other stuff. But you was the same one. You bashed Rahm saying Jim Crow and slavery just over now. Back in like 2018, he bashed him or something like that. But what that brother forgot to mention is that in 2018, he gave them Ghanaians $20 million. The city gave them $20 million to help their bank. What was that $20 million when them black ADOS people who owned the bank? What was that to help them keep their bank open? But you give that to some rich. Yeah, I sent you all the more articles.
So you didn't want to get a 9. You didn't want to get a 9 to the ADOS bank, but you gave them $20
in 2018 and talked about how we care about the black banks or whatever. It stresses me out because when you really go and look at these things, it wasn't until you start talking about these things that I started to really see the light and say, hold on, she's right, and that she can. She can really do wrong at this point. But when these stories come out, and then like you train us, but when we finally get that really down back and we do our research, you start the research and your research be on point and faster. And I realized when I was putting the article together, it was coming to me like night and day. But the fact that the city of Chicago gave them $20 million, now half of that $10 million could have went to ISF and $10 million could have went to Seaway. It was on February the 4th where an African-American girl, I couldn't find the paper where she realized, and two other people, when they went to Seaway Bank, they was not informed that their bank will be closing. They were not informed that their bank will be closing. They find out after going up there trying to make a withdrawal or handle some business that is closed for good.
And we don't even, and that's the thing, we don't even have no security. So we be trying to bank black and support our own people and stuff, and we don't need. They just do us any kind of way.
Yeah, but I sent you everything that you need to know about both of those stories.
All right, absolutely.
And I even, some stuff I couldn't, for some reason, wouldn't let me link. I just typed in about what, but it shows you what the people and the pieces connected to each other and how it all crumbles. But you got a great show, and that's all I want to get them two stories out there that I know about. Family from here in Chicago. Shout out to Marlon. I spoke to him a few times. If he remember, I was the brother that I went by myself to the NAACP some months back.
Okay.
And they kicked me out because I was in there arguing about a lot of stuff. And they were pissed. They was mad. Like, who are you coming here by yourself alone? And I said, I'm ADOS. I wore my shirt. So,
don't send that man. Don't send that man in there by himself. Go in strong.
Yeah. So, I love you, Yvette. You have a great night.
You too.
Great night.
You too, fam. Yeah, we got. I was reading a book. I was reading a fictional book, and it said something very interesting. It said only heroes, and like somebody can do stuff alone, like can move mountains alone. It's hard to do stuff as a cast out. So I salute that brother for doing something as a cast out. And I will say that like a lot of us need to get kind of used to having to do stuff and do more. Ooh-wee. I gotta look into that. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff in here. Anyway, fam, about this scandal. Oh, we gotta dig into that, family. That's a lot. Going to my next call. I am going to let's see. Where shall I go? 832, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind? Turn your background
Oh,
down.
wow. How you doing, Queen? It's Breadman TG, calling from Houston, Texas.
What's going on? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm just happy to get on the line with you, and I'll tell you why when I'm finishing up.
Okay.
But I wanted to speak to a couple of things. Is it okay if I just say a few things about the reparations?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. This is my opinion. I believe that we have an opportunity to get some serious reparations right now, and this is why we're able to get so much movement in this movement right now, like no other time, because the window was closing for us to get real reparations, and I'll tell you why. And this is why we're getting a lot of programs. We're getting, like the man said, we're getting a lot of assistance. People throwing a lot of big money at us right now. And I'm going to tell you why. Because we're getting paid from our abuser. We're getting paid from the violator. That's what I'm saying. That's not how law works. In order for us to get real reparations, that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to be careful how I say this. We have to take America to the world court. Just like if you want to sue somebody out here in the streets in America, you have to, in order to strengthen your case, to sue them civilly, you have to, charge them with rape or charge them with whatever you think they assaulted with their violations. Once they are found guilty, that gives you a stronger case in court.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Did the Japanese get reparations from America or the World Court?
Say that again?
Did the Japanese get reparations from America or the World Court?
The Japanese get reparations from America?
Yes.
I believe Japanese got reparations from America, but I think at the Africans, Africa got reparations from the World Court. The people that look like us.
Who?
So, if I'm not mistaken, the people from the Congo, didn't they take that to the World Court?
You gotta tell me.
South Africa, they've been in the World Court for the last 2 decades.
What they got?
They took the Nazis to the World Court.
What they got?
The Germans to the World Court.
What they got? What they got from the World Court? Let me ask you: Did the Jewish community did they have to go to the World Court? All these individuals. But all these individual countries are paying. Like there was an article that came out last week. I think I put it on Twitter of the State Department putting together a report of the countries that have paid the Jewish community and the countries that have not. Just the same way, in much the way like the Japanese got reparations. The Japanese got reparations from America. They didn't have to go anywhere. America just agreed. Even like forget it, and not even talk about reparations. Even when you talk about what the Indians have gotten in terms of sovereign land, it came straight from America. You don't have to go anywhere. The World Court. First of all, the World Court has no power over America. You can go there and you can talk to the World Court all day. You can talk to them all day and tell them everything is wrong. They're not going to do anything. America got a bunch of bullets and a bunch of power and run stuff.
Okay, so allow me to respond to that.
Go ahead.
I understand exactly what I understand exactly what you're saying. But here's the quandary that we're in. We need that World Court for the paperwork. That's what Malcolm X was on. We need the World Court for the paperwork. You're absolutely correct in what you're saying about maybe getting reparations and how strong they are. We understand their role. You understand what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is we need the paperwork, and this is why. Because what we're gonna do, go to our own courts and try to take America, go to our own courts and try to take America to court. That don't make no sense, because we're taking American courts, the people who made the laws and the people who set the standards. They need to be charged, and then on top of that, we need to know what are we asking for reparations for. The way that you do that is you get the paperwork. You say that this person raped me. So now my insides are messed up. Yeah, okay, let's put that on paper. This person had me work for free labor. Okay, so they give them making y'all work for free. Let's put that on paper. Let's get that paperwork. Now we know that it's not much that y'all can do, but now what we can do is take that paperwork and go back to the states. See, we need to be moving like the Jewish people before the time is over.
That's not how the Jewish people move.
We need anthropologists. We need anthropologists, and we need historians to be able to track these people down.
We already got that. We got historians. We know what everybody is there.
So where the case is at? No, we don't. No, we don't. We just got Megan Evers. We just got that cleared up. Don't you know that these people, this Jewish community, they've been taking these documents we don't. We're not doing the work of that.
No,
We're not doing
this
the
is a
work.
fool's errand. It's not gonna. The world court is not gonna listen. Listen, the world court has no power over. Like, I don't think everybody understands that. You know, that's what Malcolm tried to do, and it didn't. It was never gonna work. Like, it's never gonna. Like, the world court could say tomorrow, you know what? The world court came here and said that the UN came here and said that black people in America live in third world conditions, and that they've never seen anybody live in a first world country as bad as black people live in this country. That's your paperwork, right? What happened? What happened to it? Who did something about it? Ain't that paperwork? What happened? What did it move?
So this is where you can educate me. This is where you can educate me then, because I'm learning something as well. I appreciate you letting me come on. When we talk about reparations, and we get down to the bare bones of what reparations is for black people, I'm talking about for black people, black Americans, the people that was here, us. Are we talking about, hey, I know you messed over me and you did this to me, but let's go ahead and square it up, and this is what you give, and this is what you get, and you can give to me. Or is reparations making a declaration that this is what happened? This is what happened, and it's on record that it's wrong. Whether you apologize or not, you were charged for it. It's on record. Therefore, this is why you have to give me this. Not because you're giving it to me, because somebody else, you went through a legal process and it's been determined that this money is mine. That's what I need to know from you. Because maybe I'm wasting my breath.
But the world court is not going to determine any kind of legal process for America. They're not going to do it. That's not going to happen. America is not going to concede power to anyone. America is never going to do that. What has to happen here is the same way other groups have gotten. I like to use the Japanese, because the Japanese got 20,000 for that short time they were locked up, and they never had to go to a world court to get it. We don't need any kind of paperwork.
Did they do that with diplomacy? So do you think that we missing diplomacy? Like
No. We're missing you. I'm talking about we're missing the fact. We're missing the fact that we don't have a critical mass of people who are advocating for this. That's it. We don't got to go nowhere. Okay. We don't got to do nothing. We don't have enough people who view this as the centerpiece of a black agenda. That's it. We have a lot of people who are aspirational, who are saying we got to do this, or we going to make it on our own, or we don't need no handout. We have too much of that. Everybody has to say, you know what? I'm not doing this thing anymore with these candidates. This is the centerpiece of my agenda. It's not getting Trump out of office. It's not defunding. This is the centerpiece, period. We have not stood on the square of reparations. You talk, and even in the way we talk about stuff, you will never see a Jewish person say, I'm sick of Holocaust movies. I don't want to see them no more. Right. Because they understand the importance of their story and telling that story over and over and over again. You ain't never supposed to let nobody forget what they did to you. And so we have stupid people running around saying, I don't want to see no slavery movie. I want to see one every day. And I want to see an accurate one. I want to see Jim Crow. I want to see Reconstruction. I want to see mass incarceration. I want to see all of it. And I want to see my heroes. I want to see the people who led boycotts. I want to see the people who led revolts. I want to see all of I want to see the intellectuals. I want to see the attorneys. I want to see more movies about this wonderful struggle. The reason that we're still here. And then I'm going to keep doing it until you give me the intergenerational transfer, that inheritance, and you gotta pour money and resources into that until we're made whole. I can't tell you when that's gonna be, because it takes a lot more time to heal a wound than it takes to inflict one. Just keep pouring resources into that until we're good. That's all we gotta do.
I'm about to wrap it up, Queen. And again, I love you for letting me come on. And I'm gonna tell you why. I'm about to wrap it up. It's Brandman TV on YouTube. Please subscribe. I got a podcast called The Angry Black Man Podcast. I take racism head on. We want all the smoke, as you can see. You're probably too classy to speak on this, and so I'm gonna speak on it, and I'm going to try to be respectful as possible. But I have to speak on it because now you back in our realm. You're talking about why this is not a movement, and you said we got a lot of our own people saying things like, "Pull yourself up by the bootstrap. We don't need nothing from them." Yada yada. I know these talking points, I know this rhetoric, and we know where it comes from. And it's extremely dangerous to the community. But I want to put y'all on something in case y'all don't know. It's breaking news. There's a young man by the name of King Face who made his whole career off of dragging black people. i.e. saying F. Ahmaud Arbery. He's a stupid N-word,
okay.
and he deserves to get killed by those black people. Now, this man is down, right? There's a word that I have for these people, but I'm going to be respectful. Bottom line, he was against black people, and he did it because he had a MAGA hat on. I don't disagree with people, black people that, with their political views and this and that, but the things that he was saying about Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery, those are not political views. Now this man is in a desperate situation, and he's fighting for his life. And the same people that he dragged, right, his black community, are the same people that are donating to his GoFundMe. You understand what I'm saying? And putting money on this man while he's on the deathbed trying to fight for his life. Okay? So I had to put that out there. Okay. Because anybody who's thinking they're going to get some clout from doing what this man did, they need to pay attention.
Appreciate
to
it,
what's
fam.
going on.
Thank you, fam. Appreciate it. I know a little bit about it, but the man said he's not a beggar, and he don't want to be a beggar, so, that's the man who's on his, I don't know if he's on his deathbed, though. I know he's ill. Wish him all the best. I don't wish anybody any ill will, but, he said he didn't want to be a beggar, so I'm not going to, it is what it is. Ooh, it's a lot tonight, boy, I tell you. Anyway, fam, they done ran us out of time. We at 12:16. We at 12:16. So it's about time to go, fam. I apologize. It was a long-winded night. Listen, fam, we're gonna start doing it was louder because he started talking loud. But we're gonna start doing lightning rounds or something. We're gonna have to put everybody at 3 minutes or something. Woo. I know we don't want to end it that one, but it's 12:16, family, so we got to. And you know what else? We don't know if we're going to get another one. All the best to him, though. We have to educate people and try to do the best we can. So all the best. I don't mean to, say nothing bad about the brother. I appreciate him calling in and talking about the World Court debt so we can put it out there and talk about why that's not the best option. All good. Fam, it's that time. Be easy, breezy. Take care of yourself. Please hit the like button before you leave. If you have not hit the like button, I would appreciate it. Please, I forgot what I'm supposed to say. Please do all that stuff. Please hit the bell. Please, if you want to donate, go to donatebrown.com or Cash App, $breakingbrown, or patreon.com/WhyCarnell. But hit the like. That's no money for you. If you hit the like button, if you hit the subscribe, if you hit that little bell to get notifications, or make sure you go to my Twitter if you think it's about time for. So let me see if Yvette's on. I usually post to the Twitter that, hey, I'm on. Come have a conversation. So you know about that, fam. We got to get out of here. It's something going on this evening, fam. Anyway, fam, please be easy, breezy. Finish your libation. Make sure when you call in the next time we had a show, we do not have too many libations. Too many. If you're drinking an alcoholic libation, it's evil. If you're drinking it, it's just going to be evil. Just slip. But you can have chamomile tea, a hot cocoa, or something warm to put you to sleep. Some of y'all ain't good with that if that's what you're doing. Some of y'all sound like you had something when you call in. So anyway, fam, please be easy breezy. Take care of yourself. And until next time, don't stress out and don't let nobody stress you out. All right, fam? Bye.